Hi everyone, welcome to Her Winning Journey podcast, where our unique stories are realized, understood, and results in us living out our purpose with strength and dignity. On today's episode, we'll be touching on the topic of unmet expectations. I'm joined today by the wonderful Charity Cantave, who's an entrepreneur, social worker, and philanthropist. She's the founder and CEO of the Johnny Caker and has a passion for teaching children and community development. One of her hallmarks is the Phenomenal Girls Society, which is a nonprofit she founded for the empowerment of girls through entrepreneurship. She's also a 2018 Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative alumna, and she's married to author and journalist Ralph Cantave. Be enriched, be encouraged, be empowered by this story. I am your host, Catherina Carbon. Good day, Charity, and thank you for being here with us today. It's such a pleasure to have you on this episode with us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So today we'll be touching a bit on dealing with unmet expectations. And, when we think about our lives, at some point in time, whether it's others or even to our own selves, we get disappointed.
That's true.
Yeah, there are expectations that are not met. And sometimes it can be so frustrating when those tend to arise.
Mm-hmm. I can't disagree with you. Yeah, by all means.
So we know that unmet expectations, they are a part of life. And, something that you mentioned early on, just chit-chatting, was that they are unavoidable.
Wish we could. But it's just a part of life. You just have to learn to roll with the punches.
I totally agree. So tell me, what is something that you do to manage the expectations of others?
Okay, so as mentioned before, as long as there's going to be social interaction, there will always be some form of disappointment or unmet expectation. And I mean, I came up with a whole list of different things on how we can deal with it because in my 30 years, I don't look it right.
That is true.
In my 30 years, I've had to experience disappointments with family, with friends, with even myself. And one of the things I think that even this year especially has really reminded me is the importance of setting expectations and communicating expectations and setting the boundaries. Because I think that is one of the things that causes rifts in relationships. So I'm going to use a personal example.
Sure.
Now, because of my nature, I tend to become a yes person.
Gotcha.
Even in my business, I found myself often becoming a yes person.
Yeah.
And it works out okay when it's just you and your friends and you don't have that added responsibility. But then when you have a responsibility to hundreds of clients, you realize that you can't please everyone. And as a result, you can either cause disappointment for others or they cause disappointment for you because you overpromise.
Yep.
So I think one of the ways that I have learned personally, I mean, I have my other points and I'll get to those.
Yeah.
But one of the ways I have found is to begin to underpromise so that you can over-deliver.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Because let's say I've had a 6-day work weekend. Don't get me wrong. The Lord is still working on me. And so is my husband. But there have been times when I have reached my maximum capacity.
Yeah.
And a client would call me and say, "Hey, Charity, I have this big event and I really need you for this. I mean, you're the best at this." And, they flatter you, they sweeten you up, and you're like, "Yeah, it's true, I am the best." And you do need me. And I think that is one of the things that we deceive ourselves with. And it's not even it is not something that is even portrayed as a bad thing, because you now feel, because of the gift, and you don't think about it that way. You just see that you want to help everyone, but then it's also a form of pride, because you don't know your limits. You don't know when you have reached capacity, that is a time to turn things down. Say, no, I can't do this. I can't do it at this time. And sometimes you have to learn to disappoint others in order to maintain your own peace.
That is true.
To maintain your own sanity.
Yeah.
And also to maintain integrity. And I remembered, I'll give you a recent experience. And by recent, I mean it could be any time over a year.
Yeah.
I had a very busy consecutive weeks of just going with the business.
Yeah.
And I had a night, I was like, finally, we're done. And I called my husband, I was like, just grab something and let's go home.
Yeah.
And rest. And on my way home, I receive a call. And I'm like, why is she calling me on Friday night at this hour? I'm done for today.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, hi, just calling to let you know, the event started a little bit later, but this is where you're gonna enter from. And in my head, I'm like, oh, no. Thankfully, my mother-in-law lives very close to the venue.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were still operating from her kitchen.
Okay.
My husband can recall that situation very well, and he's probably smiling in the back. And I remember I had to be honest with her, because how are you going to create $400 worth of food?
Wow.
In 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's a very short time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's watching me like, what? You crazy?
Wow.
So I had to call her back and I said, I think I made a mistake, because I had your order for tomorrow.
Wow.
And not tonight.
Yeah.
So we began to prep. Thank God we already began some of the prep that afternoon.
Yeah.
But I said, I honestly wrote your order down for yesterday and not today. And that was because of my own busyness. I wrote it on the wrong day.
Wow.
And it was clear as day when I went back to our text messages.
Yeah.
That it was the Friday night.
Yeah.
So I had to explain to her what had happened, and told her what I can promise, let her know I will be late.
Yeah.
If that's okay, even if we can bring it in phases, we can bring what's ready, that
True.
you can start serving that, and then we come with the rest.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was that night I wanted the earth to split beneath me and swallow me up. But I just had to face it and get into the kitchen. I called my sister-in-law, told her, get the wings out the fridge, get the meatballs, get them, start cooking them, and we just had to get the work done. And we came. I mean, it was nothing short of a miracle, but we got in. We were about a half hour to 45 minutes late, and I was so embarrassed because one, we've done business with them for a long time, and she had been telling her friends and colleagues about us for such a long time. So it made her look bad, but it also made us look bad as a business.
Correct.
Because it's like, how could you make this mistake? How could you treat my business, with such lack of regard? And it wasn't even a lack of regard, but it was really on my own end. I just was taking on too much. And honestly, I know when I have taken on too much, my body begins to speak. I feel anxiety. I feel I can be very crabby, nitpicking at everything, and I don't have PMS symptoms like that. But I know when I'm stressed, what it looks like. It looks like the typical PMS symptoms. I can be quite a handful. Ask Mr. Cantave. But I knew then and there that I really maxed out my capacity. And how that reflected bad on me on the business, and also my client to her friends who referred us to them.
Yeah.
So that was one experience where I did not live up to my expectations of myself and my expectations to my customers.
Yeah.
Because for our brand is a well-known brand on the island, and people expect the best, but it started to create like a breach of trust.
Yeah.
And trust is something that is hard to build back.
Correct. That is
Once
true.
you violated it, even if you didn't do it intentionally.
Exactly.
So that would be a personal experience that I hope to never repeat.
But did she extend grace to you guys?
She actually was.
Okay.
She was actually very graceful
Great.
towards us. She said, I understand.
Yeah.
And she let us know, I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for still pulling through. And I offered her, a discount on our services.
Yeah.
And she actually said, it's okay, you brought the food and everything. We actually gave them more than enough food because we always prepare more than what is required.
Correct.
So we gave her that. But we still remain one of her favorite caterers on the island.
Nice.
But I do know that for a time, she did have a lack of surety as to work with us again. And I said, I see how not defining things can be detrimental. So and true. I can only be grateful for that second chance to be able to serve again, because we've done work for her again since that incident.
Nice.
But sometimes you don't get a second chance.
That is true. That is
so that is one of my personal experiences. But one of the other ways, because one of the things I mentioned was to underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah.
But it's also to communicate your expectations and communicate them clearly.
That is important. Yeah.
I used to, when I just started working, one of my first jobs that I worked after college was actually I was working during college as well. But while working there, I remember I had a colleague that did nothing except via email.
Wow.
And she would always say, I need to leave a paper trail. I need to leave a paper trail. And
I was someone like that also.
And I would never understand what is this lady's problem. Like, I mean, who are you working with that you don't trust anybody here in the company? Anyhow, but it was one of my old colleagues. She'll remain nameless. And at first I didn't understand it until one time, I think I had to report something, and the person said I did not send it. And I was like, no, I know I sent it. So I had to go back in my emails, and I was able to prove that it was so, that I indeed did send the email.
Correct.
And I would never forget, how much that just came through for me. And I think many times in relationships, the reason why we sometimes disagree or fall out with each other is because we have expectations of each other that we never communicated.
That is so true.
I have a friend of mine. We had a recent disagreement, and that was one of the things that we actually even addressed, because for her, she felt that she needed me. For me, I felt like I needed her. And sometimes that's another thing in relationships, is expecting what you give. But not what you give is not necessarily what somebody needs.
Yeah, that is true.
You could be giving a 3-month-old a piece of steak, and they would have no clue what to do with it.
Exactly.
And you give me a bowl of Cerelac, I'm going to watch you like you're mad. Like, why are you giving me this?
It's true.
So you have to, it's like what Gary Chapman talks about in the 5 love languages.
Oh, yeah.
It's important, and not just with couples, but in platonic relationships as well.
Yeah.
You need to figure out, what does this person that I'm in a relationship with need? And that is where you have to reciprocate that communication as well. So for my husband and I'll use us.
Yeah.
I don't like talking about other people. I like us.
You You keep it real,
Keep it real.
Keep it real.
For me, when we just got married,
Yeah.
I like PDA.
Mm-hmm.
He comes from a more reserved background, and he's like, don't kiss in public. Don't hold black man. Don't hold hands in public.
That is.
But
so
now, when I wanted it back then, he wasn't. He was like, this is weird for me.
Yeah.
No, I can't get him to stop.
Aww.
So it's a good thing, but then he chooses the wrong time now for me. So I think we still have to communicate what are the appropriate time, because I'll be in the middle of a rush, like trying to get stuff out the door to get to the client, and then he comes just hugging and touching, and I'm like, boo, 1 hour, just give me 1 hour, just give me 1 hour.
All right.
So for him now, and that's another thing, needs change.
Yeah.
So it's about learning with the people that you are in relationship with. So for him, he's now more, he likes physical touch more.
Yeah.
So that means I have to give him what he wants. For me, it would be more acts of service.
Yeah.
It would even be gifts. Like I like receiving flowers.
Yeah, those are my 2 top ones as well.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Voila. So for me, I like to receive flowers, and so he never realized how important it was to me.
Yeah.
And now he's started to create that habit where he gives me the flowers that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important, even in your platonic relationships, even business relationships.
Yeah.
Because the needs of a company 1 year, or maybe even last quarter, would not be the same in the next. So it's keeping the lines of communication open. Mm-hmm. And not expecting above and beyond what the other party can give. Because sometimes we just don't have the capacity to give it.
Yeah, that is true.
And people always liken it to like dating relationships. Mm-hmm. That you're looking for in a man what you should be looking to God. But I think that may be true. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes we also look to God what he can give to us, and a lot of us don't want to accept it. Mm-hmm. But there are certain things that we ask God to do. He's not going to violate his own principles.
Exactly.
You got to do it yourself.
Exactly.
So one of the things that we can rely on God for is that when we pray, that he hears us. He will answer us. Uh-huh. He's not going to, you're going to ask him to provide. He's not necessarily, I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, mm-hmm. but he can sometimes provide it. He can drop the money in your lap. Mm-hmm. But what he would more likely do is maybe give you an idea.
Exactly.
That can create wealth.
Yes.
He's not going to create the wealth for you. Exactly. God is not the author of laziness.
It is true. I mean, he speaks about work. Like, he prides himself in work. It's in the Bible,
And many times in our relationship with God, mm-hmm. we pray, we intercede, we have all-night prayer sessions, we fast. We hope to twist his hand, and he's like, I already answered you.
Exactly.
Now go do the work.
Exactly.
And I think having realistic expectations of each other is paramount. Mm-hmm. What are the expectations that I can have of you?
Yeah.
You can't expect, for instance, say we're friends, that we'll see each other every day. Mm-hmm. That we may talk every day. Because you have responsibilities to your job. Exactly. I have to my business.
Exactly.
We might have children. You have a husband. Sometimes a husband is like a child. I'm kidding. But you have so many things. Is that my husband laughing? Sometimes, you have enough in life that just takes a lot of your attention, and the older you get, mm-hmm. and especially if you're a person that wants to grow and develop, you're gonna want to take on more responsibility. Mm-hmm. Whether it's to a board, to a school, whether to have children, or to take a new job, or to take on a new role, all of these things require more of you. Yep. And so it is important in your relationships to identify what I can expect from you.
Yeah.
And even if it means to text and say hi. Mm-hmm. Those are just important. Another thing that I have on my list I think I'm getting a little forgetful.
It's okay.
And even as I talked about expectations, one of the other things is boundaries. And I think boundaries come before the expectations. And when I say boundaries, I mean it's more with access. It deals with access. So how close you can get to a person, how close you can get to resources.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody has the same access, and not everybody deserves access.
That's the key word, deserve.
And I don't mean it in a kind of narcissistic way that I am great and
I got you.
It's also that you have to know what all you can handle. You can't be everything to everyone. And that was something I had to learn. You know, I can't be everybody's best friend. I can't be everybody's counselor. You know, I had people that would call me late hours of the night or whatever, and they want to talk.
Yeah.
Like people even in the youth group, I remember years ago, there was this young man and he had some struggles, and he would ask me if he could talk to me about it because there was nobody else in the church he felt comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
But after a while, I realized, I said, no, he needs to talk to a man about these things, because I started to notice even strange attachments, you know, that they start to form, that they want to sit next to you all the time in church. Then you're like, they will ask you, I mean, just anything, and it's like, I can't help you with this as a woman, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So I would refer you, here's the youth leader's number, talk to him. I'm pretty sure as a man, he's been faced with these challenges as well. So I think you should approach him. Or even in my work as a social worker, I barely practice it because I don't have the patience. But to be honest, we can be honest.
I would never tell Charity. You display such grace, such patience. I would never tell.
I have patience with certain things.
Okay.
I love working with kids. So when I'm with children, I'm probably the most patient. I had a client that I worked with as a tutor.
Yeah.
I remembered we had a very strong bond. I was almost like his second mother. But then I realized I had to create that boundary that he doesn't become overly attached, because at the end of the day, you're his tutor. And it would be unprofessional for me to step out of those bounds.
Correct.
But I can't say, hey, let's go and hang out this weekend. No, I'm not his auntie. We can do it during school hours. Exactly. And that's about it. I can call you and check in on you, how you're doing with your homework, how your day has been going, you know, because I mean, he was being homeschooled at the time.
Okay.
But I knew as well that I could not overextend myself, because it would be tiresome on me as well. I have other things to do. I have other students that I was tutoring at the time, and to give all my time to this one child who likened me to his mom, I realized I had to start to create some boundaries. No, you can't call me after these hours.
Exactly.
And in business, you can't call me after these hours. You can't message me after these. You message me, I'm going to answer you back in the morning. I sometimes break code. My husband can testify. But I try my best to handle business related matters within a certain time
frame.
And that's what I mean by boundaries. You need to compartmentalize your life. So people that you do business with, there's so much that you can do with them, and no more. So for instance, you have lunch with them. You might even have breakfast with them.
Yeah.
Dinner, it depends. Especially if it's like a bail client, it really then depends.
Exactly. We don't want Mr. Cantave, you know.
No. Like, can he join us? You know? But you're not supposed to be laughing. But it's really to compartmentalize your relationships, business, your close friends, acquaintances, colleagues, and sometimes we tend to get these things mixed. They're all intertwined, and now everybody's expecting from you, and you're wondering why, but it's because you have not established those strong boundaries from ahead of time.
So true.
So I want to make sure I don't leave anything out. And then another thing with expectations is to give grace to others, to be empathetic, because sometimes, like I said, each of us need different things from each other.
Yeah.
And as a result, we would want them to go above and beyond. And we also have to be very patient. When my husband met me, for instance, he knew the kind of person I was.
Yeah.
I also knew the kind of person he was. I am nocturnal. He, around 8:30, he's like, babe,
He's gone.
I'm gone. And I mean, sometimes it can cause some contention because he wants me to like practice going to bed early. And I need that. I'm not going to lie, because sometimes I'm more productive at night. So it's then my mind starts working. Oh, I have to send this person an invoice. I need to make sure I plan a menu for next week. I have to contact this new hire. So all those things are running through my head. I have to make sure, speak to the designer. All these different things are going through my head at night. And for him, his mind works like that in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know many times I would like quarrel with him. I'm like, can you just stay up one more hour? I felt like Jesus, like, can you tarry with me for 1 hour? Just tarry with me. One more hour. Just 1 hour. Actually, that was last night. 1 hour.
Did he tarry with you, Charity? Did he tarry with you?
He tarried for 15 minutes. But he tried his best.
He made an effort.
But the thing is, I have to, for me, and this is a very simple example in comparison to other things. But I can say, you're married to me now, we need to change and stuff. But I would be out of place if I said that, because when I look at his background, his family, they have a strict bedtime. Everybody's asleep usually by 9, 9:30, the latest 10 if there's church.
Yeah.
But generally, everybody's asleep by 9. And for me, my parents, I grew up, I'm a PK.
PK's in the house.
I'm a PK, and sometimes you're going to all-night prayer. Bible study, whether you have exams tomorrow or not.
Yes.
Tonight is Bible study.
Youth meeting.
Youth meeting. You lead a youth meeting, or you. But I never drove the bus, but you always are involved in ministries. You're involved in a lot of activities, and I wouldn't say it was less structured, but our days just ran longer.
Yeah.
Than most people. Most people would not understand the life of a PK. They think it's just a pastor. We also adjust to that lifestyle as well.
Exactly. They don't know the struggles.
Where people could go home straight after church, and your father laying hands on people, talking to people, and all that stuff, and you hungry, your belly grumbling.
Exactly.
Is the life.
It's the life. It is the life.
And it was definitely something that we both had to adjust to each other. And my husband, I know sometimes he gets upset and stuff. He's like, go to bed. Please just go to bed. But I am glad that he was also graceful with me.
Nice.
Because then I realized the importance of going to bed. Because there's some times I would maybe go to bed. If you leave me, I will go sleep 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And I have to wake up at 6. And I have work to do.
Wow.
But for me, it's like just wanting to get everything done that night. And for him, it's like night was made for sleeping. Okay. So whatever you did not get done for today, put it on your to-do list for tomorrow and get it done tomorrow. So it's really to give grace to each other that you can both grow. And it does not always happen at the pace you would like it to happen.
Yeah.
But if change is not organic, it is bound to relapse.
Yep, that is so true. That is so true.
My former apostle, there was something she would always say, and I realized it's actually a quote from Dale Carnegie.
Okay.
A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
Wow, I love it.
And think about it. Oftentimes, even in church, I would say church because that's where I grew up.
That's what we know. That's what I know.
So many times we like, twist people's hand and like, wear this and wear that, and then the conviction or the change does not come from a place of conviction.
Correct.
And so as a result, let's say a few months down the road, then you say, oh, the person backslid. No.
They never changed.
They never changed.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why Paul says in Romans 12, do not be conformed to this world, but let your mind be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
So it's important that you begin to identify the beliefs, the patterns, the behaviors, the thoughts that you have held on to. Some of them you haven't even picked up later on, but you have grown up in an environment. People underestimate how much you learn from your social environment.
Yes.
What you pick up from your parents, what you pick up from cousins, whoever you spent most time with, there's some habit that you've picked up that can be detrimental to your future.
Yep.
So it's important when you're dealing with others to know that they're also coming from a different place than you.
So true.
They have different experiences. They have even different traumas.
Yeah.
And even when you have your behaviors formed around trauma, it takes even more effort to change that behavior, to change those thoughts, and to confront them. But of course, the person has to first identify that it's an issue, and that it needs to be changed. And if they don't come to that point, you just have to love them as if they will change, without putting that expectation, that pressure that isn't really going to change anything. They're going to just change to maybe appease you for some time, but it will relapse if it doesn't come from a place of conviction. So one thing with managing expectations with people would be to embrace organic change. Give people room, give people the grace to develop in their own changes, in their own development.
No, I definitely agree with you, Charity. And I think that's where we don't realize that there are realistic expectations as well as unrealistic expectations. For us, sometimes when we set expectations for ourselves, because we know the environment that we grew up in, because we know that we can handle this, sometimes we think that, okay, this should be the same for others too as well, not realizing that, hey, that is not really the case. While this may be for you something that is real, given everything that plays a role in your environment, for someone else that is just too unrealistic for them to actually reach. And I think that's where oftentimes a lot of the disappointments too, besides, the communication too as well, it's like, really realizing, hey, people are really different. Like they're at different pace, at different spaces in times in their own individual lives. And as you said, it's giving people that space to grow, to be themselves, and just realizing, hey, we ourselves too, we aren't really at that point as yet. Sometimes we set those things for ourselves when we our own selves can't even attain those things.
The next half.
No, I mean, it's,
but you're right.
It's true. Like, we set these things for others when we our own selves
can't even live up to those same expectations.
We can't live up to it. And if we are being honest with ourselves, it's like, I can't really do it. So then why am I putting so much pressure
on others,
and they're like getting frustrated, you are getting frustrated, then you're not enjoying the beauty of the relationship as it's supposed to blossom, as it's supposed to grow, and then you're actually missing out on something that you could actually probably get that you need at that point in time. And it's like,
it's true.
That's where, that grace comes in. And as you mentioned, setting boundaries and having other people not also place those on you too as well. It's also it's a two-way stream. Correct. Not only you placing it on others, but also not having others place that on you. It's like, wow. So when it comes to expectations and managing it for yourself, like, from that extreme, how is it done on your end?
As in setting expectations
for yourself?
No, I don't want anybody to think I have this thing mastered and perfected. Because I sometimes fall back on it. And it has come with paying attention to myself and how I feel. Your body gives you signals.
So true.
So let's say, use a very simple example. Let's say church Christmas dinner is coming up.
Yeah.
And the ladies are now, maybe they have the men doing the meats, and the women have to do the sides.
Yeah.
So now they're beginning to delegate. And they say, hey, Kathy, do the potato salad. I hear you're very good at it.
Yeah.
Right away you feel that way, like, hold up. Year end, I'm busy doing the audits. I'm busy doing whatever for me. I need to make sure that these things are, tightened up. I'm working long nights, longer than usual. Maybe you're doing 12-hour, 15-hour days, just that you can meet deadlines.
Correct.
And they have just delegated you to do something, assuming that you have the time. Now, that check sometimes is what we have to listen to. Where people begin to put demands on you beyond what you can deliver.
Yeah.
And it's then and there that you begin to make things plain. And somebody says, well, you're going to do this. And I'm not saying that you have to be disruptive and in the middle of the meeting, Sister Alberta, I can't do it. It would be more so, maybe just to raise your hand and maybe suggest something else that you can do.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bring drinks. I'd be willing to provide all the utensils.
Yeah.
But really, I will not be able to commit that because of the hours that I'm working.
Correct.
And I think it's those little checks, because we know when something feels right and when something does not feel right.
Yeah.
The thing is, many times we just ignore it.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of upsetting people. And I think when you begin to listen to yourself more often, and it takes practice, then you'll be able to set your expectations, set your boundaries.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend actually who I'm doing some business with during the holiday season. And I remember I asked her if she can do something, because there was a client who wanted a specific item, and I told them I usually outsource it, and they said they wanted it so badly. And I said, okay, I'll see. I knew my friend. I was like, I'll see. And I went and I asked her, and she was like, Char, you know me already. I need 1 week notice to do this. I cannot do it. And she was so plain. I mean, and that is a kind of no-ness that I aspire to.
I got you.
That no just rolled out her tongue within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
For me, I have to go and I have to explain.
Yes.
And I have to say, Sister Barbara, look, honestly, this happened and that happened. And then and for her, she also, and I admire that about her, is how she was willing. She knows her capacity.
Yeah.
She knows she's working. She knows she has these responsibilities. In order for me to deliver on this, I need this amount of time. I need this amount of maybe even resources, your team, all of these things. She knows what she needs. So when she tells you no, it's because she's made a calculated measure.
Exactly.
That she just can't. And it's important that we begin to do that. The Bible talks about counting the cost. Counting the cost is not only when you're going to build a building.
Yeah.
It can also be when you're making simple decisions on a day-to-day basis.
I love that.
Is it going to cost me my joy? Is it going to cost me my peace?
Yes.
That I'm going to go and do something that I know does not sit right with me, and that I'm not doing it from a pure place. Is it going to cost me all of that to just make you happy?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we do things out of not wanting to displease other people, and it costs us at the end.
Cost us too much.
Way too much.
It
costs us embarrassment.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the what was your question exactly?
How you manage.
Of how you can
yourself.
how you can manage it for yourself.
Yeah.
And those are in daily processes.
Yeah.
How can you do that is just listen.
Yeah.
Listen to yourself. When it don't feel right, turn it down.
Sure.
Maybe reschedule it. Maybe you can't do it right now, but
Yeah.
I can do it at this time. Or I can't do it, but I can recommend someone who can.
Yeah.
And I've had to do that, like working on Sundays. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm trying to cut off business that I don't work, let's say on Sundays or
Yeah.
on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I make it my self-care days. I still end up doing some work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but at least on Sunday, that should be the day that I can just have for myself.
Correct.
To go to church, to spend time with family, to just rest and just be by myself. And that is taking some time. I'm actually improving.
It's a journey.
I'm still
It's a journey.
improving. But and also I also know which customers I can do that with, and also to what quantities or so on that I can handle.
Yeah.
Maybe before going to church without feeling taxed, without feeling stressed out. So it's really listening,
Yeah.
being in tune with yourself.
So, and as you mentioned, in terms of your line of work, it takes a certain humility from you as well to have to be able to say, you know what, God, I want to build this wealth. I want to, build this for my family in the future. If I could get this extra cash, on this extra day, it's going to push me further. But then it's like, you know what, God, I'm just going to take a step back. Let me weigh the cost.
Yeah.
Let me see it. And you know what? I'm going to just be able to give up that extra time just so that I can have my sanity.
It's true. It's true.
Wow.
Sometimes those that you take, you feel the burn at the end.
Yeah.
And even my friend, she was telling me that the reason why she has these strict rules, these strict policies with her own business is because many times when she has bent for a person, it has always bit her back in the end.
Wow.
Someone's disappointed or things just don't go as it's supposed to be, as it's planned, and you can't take back those experiences.
Yeah.
So she just makes it a strict rule, and I'm working towards that.
Yeah.
But she makes it a strict rule that within a certain time frame, she does not take any orders.
I love that. I aspire just like you, Charity, to be like your friend. No, it's so true, because sometimes your love that you have for people, your natural inclination to help.
I honestly question our love for people. And this 2020 has caused me to begin to question, is it really love?
Oh, nice. Really?
Is it really you functioning out of love or people pleasing?
That's a good one. That is true.
Is it really love? And especially because we grew up in church and we are taught the importance of service towards others. Sometimes we give service to others and a disservice to ourselves.
Oh.
So sometimes it's really not love. We just have been conditioned to think this is love. Love is also telling people no. Yeah. Jesus told his own mother no. Be like Christ.
We're supposed to be Christ-like, actually. It is true.
Tell your mama no.
No, but I really love how you said that, Charity, and that really shed some light on our actions, and it's really a food for thought, before we take further actions. Like, is it really from that love, or is it really people pleasing?
Yeah. And Jesus, I made a joke about it, but it's true, because he said, who is my mother? Who is my father?
Yeah.
Not my brothers and sisters are those who are with me. They're doing the things of the kingdom. I must be about my Father's business. So that is another, I think, even as we are venturing into 2021, I think it's important that we also gain a sense of focus of what is the Father's business concerning us. Like, what's our role? What's our purpose? What are we supposed to be doing? What are we not supposed to be doing? So that, our yes can be yes, our no can be no.
I agree.
Or else you're going to be wasting time. And when the Father asks you, what have you been doing with your time? And you show him all this activity, and he's like, I never sent you to do this.
Yeah, that is solid. That is solid. Well said, Charity. I mean, I enjoyed this session so much. I wish that we could continue on and on and on, but it's so, so true. It's such a good topic that we could elaborate so much further on. But before we leave today, I'll ask you, what is the one advice or word of encouragement or scripture that you want to leave with our listeners and viewers for today?
Okay. One thing I would recommend is to plan.
Yeah.
To plan for your expectations. There's a scripture in Corinthians. I'm not gonna even act like I remember it exactly. I have it here because it surprised me so much. I mean, I've read it before, but reading it this second time really stuck out to me. And it says, it's Galatians 6 verse 4 to 5. It says, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. For each one should carry his own load.
Wow.
And I was like, the Bible is here telling you, test your own actions.
Yeah.
Test what you've been doing. Test the motive behind what you've been doing as well. And are you, at the end of the day, with what you're doing, do you feel pleased with what you have done? And I think a lot of times as well, when we also find ourselves doing a lot of things that we shouldn't be doing it because we're comparing everybody else's journey to our own. And this one is succeeding or seem like they're succeeding, so they're attaining financial wealth. That's their strength.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a better financial mindset, so that's their field. But maybe your field is more along the creative.
Yeah.
Maybe yours is more along service. Maybe you're not supposed to be a leader. Maybe you're supposed to be serving the person with the vision. And it doesn't mean that your role is any less, but are you feeling fulfilled in what you're doing?
Yeah.
So it's to identify what that is, test it, and not compare. And a lot of times I hear people as they talk about comparison. Comparison is a thief of joy. And as I was doing my own research, one of the things that came across, I'm not going to take it as my own. They said if comparison is a thief of joy, and the joy of the Lord is your strength, if your joy is gone, your strength is gone.
Wow, I love
and
it.
it was like, mind blown.
I love it.
So instead of comparing your life, your decisions, based on the measure of others, base it on the measure that God has outlined for your own life. What's your purpose?
Yeah.
And even as you plan, it's important as well to partner with God in everything that you're doing. So you're not expecting him to do the work, but you can expect him to do the increase. The Bible talks about the horses are prepared for the battle, but victory belongs to the Lord. So it highlights the importance of preparation, because you can't expect beyond what you're prepared for.
Yeah.
So as you have planned, as you've begun to prepare, you begin to partner with God. God, I've done my part. I've done my effort. I've done what I could in my strength, but now I rely on you. So whatever I could not do, you will compensate it. You'll give me leverage. You'll help me attain what I need to attain. And for me, I believe when we do that, then we are assured victory. You can have consecutive wins. You don't get consecutive wins watching what everybody else is doing.
So true.
You get consecutive wins when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I love it, Charity. I love it so much. Thank you so much for your time here with us today. Thank you for sharing and pouring into us. This was such a great session. Thank you so much. I had fun too. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope that you're encouraged and inspired to do what it takes to ensure that you reign on your journey. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, be blessed.